I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second? Thanks.
Second.
Thanks, Jen. All right. Any discussion on any of these? Anybody? I never know whether somebody's on mute or I'm just moving on. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay. All right. President, Vice President's report. Other than losing my mind around here, I really don't have anything specific to bring up. Howard, do you have anything?
Just want to thank all the local volunteer fire departments for being part of parades. They've been out locally doing different work. So I know that we cover, I guess, 5 different, houses of different volunteers. And I just want to put a thank you out to all of them on behalf of the board.
Yeah, they went through right through my little neighborhood, and I was outside with headphones on. I must have had them a little too too loud because my wife is pointing at the road, but I've got my back to it, and I didn't hear any of it. So, but it's pretty cool that they're doing that. I agree with you, Howard. All right, so why don't we move to the superintendent's update?
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. It's breaking. Am I breaking up a little bit, or you can hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
You're good now. You froze before, but you're good.
Yeah, you were all freezing. I didn't know what was going on, so I didn't know if it was me or not. But I have quite a few items to share. First of all, is the end of the year plan. The building and district leadership, those principals, Elliot, Caroline, Brian, and myself have been working on end of year plans so that people know what to expect. And so this week and next week, our teachers are coming in to prepare their classrooms for the summer. So they're packing everything up, taking things off their walls so that the facilities team can come in and clean and sanitize, re-sanitize. And then also they're gathering student items together, bagging them and labeling them. And then the facilities team will bring them up to the gym for a future parent pickup, which will be in June. So that's phase 1. So over the next 2 weeks, we're able to see teachers, social distancing, wearing masks, about 5 or 6 at a time coming into each building. They have a spreadsheet that they're using to sign up their times. Then phase 2 is parent pickup, and that's June 18th and 23rd. And that's a time when we're going to coordinate pickup of student items that were found in lockers, could be yearbooks, instruments, drama scripts, library books, anything that we have that theirs, we want to hand them off. We also want to give them awards, congratulate them for the good work that they did and are continue to do here in school. So we want to give them a handshake, a pat on the back, and award those who will be receiving one. It'll also be a time for folks to return textbooks, parents to return textbooks, pay for library books that are damaged or missing, or return library books. So that's been coordinated. I want to say thank you to the team. It took a lot of time and thought to come up with these plans. So I think they're very strategic. They're efficient and mindful of people's time. Then we have seniors. Seniors are to pick up their cap and gown on June 17th, and they're also going to give us back their Chromebook and the other outstanding items. Graduation and moving up ceremonies, we have 3. We have Alden Place, and that's going to be on June 24th at 6 o'clock. And details will be forthcoming, right, Tom?
Yes.
And then middle school, June 22nd at 6 o'clock. And Steve will be giving us information as we get closer to the dates. And then our high school graduation is June 19th, 8:30 p.m., not a.m., p.m. And I believe Rick is going to join us during our next board meeting to talk about the details of graduation and the 30-day celebration as we move towards that very important day. I wanted to mention the calendar and the last executive order from the governor saying that we had to exhaust our give back days, and we also had to use our spring break at the inception of the pandemic. But this also approved to have one more day for teachers contractually, so we owed them a day. So this Friday, which is was part of that extended Memorial Day weekend, May 22nd, that is going to be an instructional day for students, but a non-working day for teachers. So the expectation is teachers are pushing out work in advance. Students are working on what was assigned on Friday, and then they will follow up with any questions or review the next week. Everybody is off on Memorial Day, so I hope you enjoy your long weekend. A couple of highlights. We added a survey to our website. We just wanted to get a feel for how parents are feeling, how students are feeling, and if there's anything that we can do to help relieve any of the burdens that they're feeling or the information that they need to either better support their child at school, or if there's some kind of social emotional support that we can provide, we'd like to do so. So we're encouraging parents to just fill out those surveys, and whatever applies to them, great, and fill it out. And if it doesn't apply to them, just move on to the next question. Then we also added to our website shout outs. So you too, community board, and everybody in the district can shout out people that they see doing an act of kindness or they believe they deserve a shout out, a commendation for doing the right thing or being kind. So feel free to use that as a venue to commend people. There's also a car parade on the way. So there's a district-wide car parade, which actually is going to span 2 days, this Thursday and this Friday, between 1 and 4 o'clock. We're going to be going through the community and saying hello to all of our students and their parents from our cars. So please join us if you'd like. We're going to start out at the middle school circle, the bus circle, and line up there, and then just follow a big yellow bus with Joe Carbone in the front, leading the way. And we're going to follow the bus runs to ensure that we're hitting every household, all of our kids in the district. So please join us. You can join us in the beginning, in the middle, in the end, one day, both days, but it'd be nice to see you all there. And then lastly, just a reminder that the budget vote is June 9th. And it's really important that people send in their absentee ballots and vote for the budget. And I wanted to take a moment for Cheryl to talk about the process, because it's a very different process. It's a difficult and complex process regardless on just a regular school year, but at a pandemic, there's more complexity. And I thought it would be interesting to you if you heard sort of the things that she's been working through. So Cheryl.
Thank you, Laura. So first I want to say thank you to Laura, Brian, and Caroline for supporting me the way that they have, because they've watched me spin a few times, probably wondering when I was going to sit still. So we stopped the process of a vote early on because of all of this, and we were unsure what was going to happen. And so since May 1st, the entire state, all the district clerks have been scrambling to make this happen. So what has to happen is all of our eligible voters have to be mailed a absentee ballot. For our district, that means 6,000 ballots will be mailed out. And for other districts, you know, it's 30,000, whatever that number. So we needed to order amount of supplies that we never could have anticipated needing. So we were scrambling to find places to do that for us. And we went with BOCES. We're required to have prepaid return mail. So we had to figure out how that was going to happen. The post office got on board with us very quickly to help us figure that out. And so we've been making all of these things happen in a really short amount of time while trying to figure out what we were legally required to do to make everything happen. And so that we can keep our workers safe when we do have the count. So we got in a portion of our envelopes today from BOCES, and I had 5 people come in and put stamps on them. So they put 6,000 stamps on envelopes in 2.5 hours today. So that was really awesome. And so tomorrow we're going to be stuffing envelopes, and it's a tedious job. And I'm so thankful that they're willing to come in and help out, because we need to get them mailed out by Friday. So it's a big task, but everybody's showing up and they're helping out, and it's very much appreciated. And then we've had a few newsletters, postcards that have to be mailed out very quickly. That turnaround happened from BOCES. So I really am very grateful for our local Dutchess County BOCES. They, as soon as I got on the phone, they helped me out, made everything happen. So it's been crazy, but it's all coming together and we're going to be fine. So that's been my crazy process for the budget. I did want to also mention, we do have a change for registration of our students because of this, where normally they would come in person to see Michelle Hartswick, and they can't do that. So Carrie Weller has made all of the forms online fillable. So families can fill them out online. They don't need to have a printer, and they can do that whole process online, or they can print them and mail them, but we don't have in-person registration. So that's my spiel.
Thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
We're okay with, I know originally we had this, or before all this nonsense, we had to see the originals, like birth certificates. We're just sort of waiving that for this year.
Yeah, so we spoke to Margot. Well, I spoke to Margot about having to have these documents online, signatures as well. So because of this situation, we're allowed to take these documents as legal documents. If we see some kind of an issue, of course, we could ask somebody to come in when we're able to do that. But for right now, we have ways of verifying addresses, and they'll still have to have papers notarized, which they can also do online. So. You're muted, Perry.
Or Laura?
That is all I have to report, unless you have any clarifying questions.
Cheryl, can I ask, when the ballots come back, are we having the same type of people just that are there every year? How are they being counted and checked?
So when the ballots come back in, I have, I'm hoping to get 10 people that will appoint. Not that we're going to need 10 people to work, but if we get more ballots back than we normally see, we're usually around 400 votes. So
Right.
if we get more than that, we'll have enough people to handle it.
Good.
But it's going to be different, but the counting process of it will be very similar to what we're used to here.
Okay, thank you.
Because we do a paper vote already.
Yeah, yes, I remember that, yeah.
All right.
Carol, who physically picks up the mail from the post office?
So our Rich Mirabella actually is our guy who does all the mail, who he's actually running around for me, kind of crazy too, doing all my pickups from BOCES, and he goes to the post office for me.
Only because I'm wondering if we should check with Margot about, the chain of custody of the ballots. One person picks them up, one person takes them, keeps them stored in I guess, locked up area until it's time to count.
So what'll happen, and that's a normal process that happens, when they get mailed in, they bring them directly to my office and I will put them in a sealed box.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, any idea how long this may take to count that night, election night?
No, so it's really going to depend, John, on how many people send in the ballots, right? So if we get our normal count and I have 4 to 5 people working, that's 100 ballots per person. That could be an hour, kind of our normal count. It's really hard to anticipate, until we start seeing what's coming back. I do know that we are not required to, stay all night into the next morning to count. We are allowed to leave and come back to finish that count if it were to be a crazy number, but I'm hoping that we're gonna get what we usually have, so.
Well, does it have to start at like a later, like, usually you guys don't start counting till 9 o'clock or whatever it is. Does it really have to wait? Can you get started, say, the next morning and do it? Or you have to
No,
start at 9
Yeah,
o'clock?
we have to start at 5 PM. So
Five.
we will accept ballots through the mail up until 5 PM. So we will have someone go to the post office at 5, bring me that last run of mail, and then we will start to open the ballots and do our
Okay.
count at 5.
Okay, at least it's a little earlier start than normal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
Cheryl, did you say live
Alright.
streaming
Oh,
when you're opening the
yes.
ballots? You might
Yes.
want to mention that.
So there's been a debate going back and forth among districts, whether they have to live stream the count or not. Margot has advised that we should do that because we want to be transparent with that count. And so Elliot has worked with me to set up a laptop at every station where we have someone working. And it'll be a Zoom meeting just like we're doing. They're all going to be on mute and people will just see that they're, counting and tallying the votes. So. But nobody will
That-
be able to comment, it's just going to be that they view. They get to view it.
That sounds like an interesting night of television. Watching somebody pick.
It's going to be
piece
a
of
good
paper and
time.
put it down.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I think we'll have to
If you can't
We'll have to
sleep,
have some sort of a game that we play as board members while we watch you guys.
very nice.
Careful, Jennifer.
Uh,
All right.
I almost unmuted.
All right, let's go to the assistant soups.
Hey, okay, so
Big
I
Ryan.
don't have much. A lot of it will be if you have questions in the budget approval or adoption and the property tax report card. I'll just share a couple of things. The average, I learned today that the average levy increase in Dutchess County is going to be 2.73%, it looks like. And so it looks like we stand poised in a good spot at 2.27% that we're looking to put up before the voters. Want to congratulate the food service department. They're still putting out a staggering 2,500 meals per week. So our kids are getting fed and that's pretty extraordinary. We talked briefly about end of the year expenditures. I just want to share a little bit more about that. So we heard loud and clear that the board would like us to be looking into an upgraded security camera system. So Elliot is on it. And in fact, we had a meeting today with Core BTS, Elliot and I and Mike Ragusa did to look at and come up with a plan for an ultimate replacement of the entirety of the system in phases and consistent with maximizing state aid as we go along. So Elliot is all about that and excited about it, and he's done security camera upgrades in his previous life. So this is something with which he's pretty familiar. So we plan to have a plan for you for your consideration for some purchases at the end of the year, and how much we would be recommending that we purchase will depend on scope of work and exactly how many server upgrades we will need to be able to house the amount of security footage that we would want to be able to have. So more to follow on that. Some of the other end of the year expenditures that we actually already talked about was about compensatory education for special ed. So Caroline has already acted to encumber funds in this year's budget for next if we have any compensatory education that we have to be able to provide. And it's wise to do it that way because we will have, as you know, we will have fund balance this year. And we don't know what our aid situation is going to be for next year, so that's helpful. Obviously the Chromebooks and the My Learning Plan software are two things that that we've already purchased for this year, moving into next as a pre-purchase. So we're excited about that that pre-purchase. So it could be true that next year, if aid falls the way that we would hope, and it's not looking that way, but if we get as much aid as we were projected, it could be that we'll have a surplus next year, and the board would be in a spot to make decisions about purchasing equipment sooner in order to be able to get further on our one-to-one plan. So I'm just sharing that. We don't know if it's likely or even possible, but worthy of discussion. And that's all I've got for you for now.
All right, Caroline?
There's nothing
So,
right
in
this,
special education.
oh, we can't hear you, Caroline.
Oh, no, I thought someone else started talking.
No.
Okay. In special education, so we are in the middle of the annual review process. We are currently not able to do as many meetings as we normally would due to the fact that we need special consent to be able to host meetings through video conference. So we are waiting for some folks to send them back, giving consent to host those meetings through video conference. But as we're getting them back, we are able to schedule them. We are also currently this year, we have to comply with a survey about family engagement in special education, which is something each year New York State requires that school districts do an indicator of special education services. This year, family engagement is our indicator that we are supposed to do a self-study on. We have to get 68 families to respond to the survey. So far, we have 33 families that have responded. So we are on our way. However, due to the circumstances, like I said, we have not made as much progress for annual reviews as we normally would at this point, although we've been able to pick up the pace in the last few weeks as we've kind of hit our stride in this distance learning and just kind of the whole remote atmosphere. I think people are getting used to it and sort of more comfortable with it. So we have been getting more consent in the last few weeks. So we've been able to host more meetings in the last few weeks than in the beginning. So that is getting better, but we have quite a few more surveys to go. So we're working on that. And then we are doing some disproportionality studies in special education, which we will be updating the board on periodically as well. And that's about it from special education at this point.
Caroline, at what point do you think we'll have a better idea of what the fall is going to look like? I mean, we know they're trying to get everybody back as quick as possible, but we also know California universities have shut down for all of next year. I mean, at what point do you think we'll have a better idea of, do we have to go to A and B classes? Do we have to stay out another semester? Do you have any idea on that? I guess this is to you and Laura.
So we met last week with Frank Ulieri from Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES, and we've been talking as an administrative team as well about recovery plans and about non-pharmaceutical interventions and what that would look like. Basically, what we have been preparing for is all of the what ifs. What if we do have to go to an AB schedule? What if we did have to open back up in September on a distance learning platform? What if we have to? So at this point, we don't know what that's going to look like, but what we've started to do is sort of plan for every contingency. And a lot of what Frank has kind of told us to do is keep playing the game of what if it looks like this, what if it looks like that, and kind of plan for the unforeseeable, because we don't know what we will be facing, and start looking at all of the ways in which we can navigate the unpredictable circumstances, because we're not really sure. But what we are sure of is that for as many different circumstances as we can possibly have, we have to have a plan in place. Because just like this, right, we found out basically Friday at 2:45 that this was happening, and we had to be prepared for our students, and we did the best we could to adjust on the fly. And we don't have a timeline of when that's going to happen, but what we do have, I think, is some pretty good guidance of what that will look like, right? So we'll have to have targets in place, and what we will monitor in terms of student attendance, in terms of viruses and infection rates in the area, in terms of what will we monitor, and then what types of phases we will go through if we need to close again. Will we modify large scale events first, and those kinds of phases and plans, and reclosing if we have to in the fall. So we're looking at it, we're planning ahead, and we'll do the best we can to get out ahead of whatever plans we have to have in place. And when we have a definitive answer as to what September could potentially look like, we hope that we have those plans ready to go.
And make sure I know this is like stating the obvious, but make sure you're specifically identifying risks. Not so much, this person could get sick type of risk, but risks of if they require us to have every student wear a mask, do we have them, and could we get them? If they're requiring, hand sanitizer, can we get it? Would we have it? Make sure that you're identifying those risks, because there may be things that we can do now that will mitigate some of those risks. I mean, you don't want to spend $100,000 on face masks and then find out you're not going to use them. But on the other side, you don't want to find out you need 900 face masks and we can't get them for 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of it
else?
is going to
So that
do about,
question- so
restructuring and.
Trying to figure.
Uh-oh, everybody's frozen. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
it.
I can
I
I
can
hear
hear you
you.
now.
Tom and Howard are
Okay.
frozen. Am I frozen?
Can you hear us?
I'm not sure.
No, you're not frozen.
Myself, but yeah.
You're not frozen?
I think
You look frozen, Tom.
Yeah,
I'm not
he's
frozen.
frozen.
I mean, I'm not frozen on
All right.
mine, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Howard
not
doesn't look
frozen on mine
frozen.
either.
All right. We
Oh,
can
and
hear you.
now
Perry's
Paul's back.
frozen.
So I was just going to mention, so is the state, I mean, I would imagine they've got to pick a date when they're going to decide what direction they're going, which seems a lot more logical than trying to have a plan for every possible scenario to me. But have they sought any feedback from districts on how much time you would need to respond to some of the obvious scenarios? Because trying to have a plan for every scenario seems insane to me. And then and then have them give you, 2 weeks or a month's notice or something just sounds really dysfunctional. I get you don't want to pull the trigger too early for one direction or another, but you also want to leave time for people to be able to put something together that's viable. So they haven't asked for any kind of feedback?
The only thing I know about is that the state ed is putting together a task force. I'm not sure who's on that task force, but they're going to be sort of the drivers of recovery. So they'll be able to give us some guidance as we move through this uncharted time. And
Right.
so hopefully, and then I know that just different, like Duchess BOCES and the superintendents are working on some recovery plans collaboratively. And then you're going to have district specific plans because it's based on our needs. So there'll be multiple resources and materials and guidance from various folks within the state to help us with recovery, but we have to make sure that we're using that information for Millbrook specific. We want to be aligned with procedures and protocols, mostly around health, right? That we're aligned across the county and the state, but then there'll be different nuances.
Yeah.
Laura,
Yeah,
is there a
hopefully they-
procedure
The
right
generic
now
things
for
like-
staff?
Around.
Can you
Go
hear me,
ahead,
Laura?
Perry.
Caroline or Laura, maybe you could answer this. Is
Okay.
there a current procedure right now? Can you hear me, Karen? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can hear it, Paul.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, is there a current procedure? Is there a current procedure for staff now that will need to come into the building? Like, I know you guys come in often, but staff, if they want to come into the building, what's the current procedure for them? You guys, what do we do now?
Are you talking about the teachers right now?
Yeah,
So right now we're in the midst of our phase 1 end of the year. So Steve created a spreadsheet where teachers can sign in specific days and times to come in and clean up their classrooms. If there's social distancing is practiced, people are wearing masks, gloves if they want to, and are cleaning up their rooms and labeling student items in preparation for pickup later in June.
good.
So
Good.
this
So they
week
have
and
an
next week,
option.
that's when that's happening.
So if they want to come in, they can under the guidelines of what you guys need them to do, like with the mask and everything like that. Okay, good. All right,
Correct.
thank you.
Anybody else?
Mhm.
All right. Why don't we take a look at the financial reports? And do we have a motion to approve? Can you guys hear me?
So moved. I'll make.
Hello?
Yeah, so
Yes.
moved.
Do we have a
Can you hear me?
second?
I heard
Yes.
Paul move.
Second.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Second.
Jennifer, did you
Second.
do the
And
second?
Jennifer,
All right. So do we have any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
I heard somebody
Do we have
say
any
yes.
discussion?
Nope.
John, you're muted if you're trying to. Seems like
Looks asleep.
Did we have a
John, you
deputy
good?
claims order? Can you hear me?
Say it again, John.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you say that again?
Did we actually appointed a deputy claims order? I didn't know we did that.
Yes, you did.
Hmm.
We did
It
that
was-
during this, while that we had an acknowledgement that a lot of this work was going to happen remotely. So we needed to be able to have somebody additional who was going to get hopefully trained in it, but certainly appointed and with the facility of being able to work remotely.
Okay, and that's Carrie?
Yeah.
Well?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody hear
Aye.
me? Any against? All right, I guess everybody's there. Lost the agenda again. All right, financial reports. The calendar for the draft calendar for the Board of Ed Have you guys had a chance to look through that? I mean, I think. if I
Can we
look
do
a
at it
motion
correctly,
before we
it's
discuss?
basically. Sorry?
We just
do we
need
have
to
a
do a
motion
motion
to
before we
approve?
discuss.
Yeah, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
This is,
Motion to
thank you,
discuss.
Tom. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, let's open it up for discussion. John, somebody?
Just a little thing. I see in August, there's 2 meetings a week apart. What is the reason for that?
Yep, so the thinking was, John, we wanted to give some time for vacation. And so, and we didn't want to do just one meeting in July. So we pushed that, the August meetings out a little later. But so we could give people time to have a break, if we can, not knowing what's going to happen this summer, but also making sure there was 2 meetings in July and August.
And I'm assuming, I mean, we have no intention of suddenly going back to meeting in the library. So,
Yeah.
you know, even if you are on vacation, hopefully we can connect. And these are, I didn't look, but these are Tuesdays still?
Yes, yes.
Except for a couple of them.
Yeah, I don't even know if we had to make any.
Oh, sorry. All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Watching your faces. All right, carried. Why don't we, where's the agenda? Come on. Approved proposition. I think, although I didn't see it in the agenda, are the principals going to give us an update?
Sure, I can start if you'd like.
Yeah, why don't we go to that and then we'll come back to the new business.
Okay. At Alden Place, we're doing fine. Seem to be. It's funny that as we've gone further and further into this online learning, we used to go to classrooms to re-energize, and it's very difficult. But we do have standing meetings throughout the week, so I can log into a Google Picnic with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades, and it's fantastic to see the kids and for them to communicate with us. We have standing meetings also with ENL, with the various teachers, check in and so on, and it's a good way to re-energize. The challenge has been to communicate, obviously. We're looking at navigation issues at times, but I think we've worked most of those kinks out with our Chromebooks. We had plenty at Alden Place so that we could, if a student had an issue, they could bring them in and get another one to utilize. And so the challenge to communicate is kind of wrapped up at this point. It's becoming a challenge to motivate at times. But I think we kind of get beyond that by engaging the students, congratulating them on some things that they've done, and staying as best we can in communication. And when we have a trouble spot, we're sort of keying in on those students, families, to try to again encourage them to engage us in the instruction. For me, I think that by me seeing our superintendent shouts and the different things that our teachers have come up with to engage others, it's been incredible for me. Caroline Bryan and the teachers are a good source of again motivating and to as I said before, re-energize. When I look at some of the things that the teachers have done, the even just simple thing like decorating a rock has gone a long way toward making my day, and I think making each other's day when they see it. It's kind of like putting it in print, their stuff, because we put it online and we celebrate those things. So as Laura said earlier, we are planning for moving up. We have a little bit of a plan, but it's going to be less staff than usual, and less people for social distancing. We have a plan. We're sort of ironing out the details. I'll run it by Laura, and then I'll get it out to you. Whether or not some of you can participate or not, that's, we'll see how that goes. Oh, and I don't want to forget the improvement at Alden Place was seeing the vestibule completed. Looks great. We'll see it in action hopefully soon. Along the way, I've been sending out pictures or photos, for the students, teachers, and so on to see. And so now the teachers, as they've come in, so some of them haven't been in the building in a month and a half or 2 months. And so when they come in, they're really impressed also with how nice it looks. So thank you very much. And that's my report. Any questions from Alden Place? For Alden Place?
So Tom, do you guys engage, and it's probably, I don't know if it's the teachers or another part of our staff, but have you guys been engaging to find out how the kids are actually doing, especially mentally? Are they frightened by this? Have they gotten over it? I mean, it's amazing when you go outside, like if you just take a ride in the car, if you did that 3 weeks ago, there was nobody on the road. Now, all of a sudden, you're back to waiting at the stop sign to get out. I was just curious if the kids and really the parents have seen, been talking to anyone about emotionally how they're dealing with this.
I only see from the standpoint of having been in these Google Chats and Google Meets for now 8 or so weeks. I haven't seen a decline in the spirit of the kids. Kids look like they have good spirits yet, and they seem to be enjoying themselves. They tell us all about different things that they're doing at home, and it's pretty upbeat yet.
Cool.
I don't see them outside a lot either though, as I'm, whether it's here in our neighborhood or if it's in Millbrook, I don't see people outside much.
Okay.
Spirit
right.
seems good.
Steve, you want to go next? Oh, okay. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, so over at Millbrook Middle School, I'm going to break it up into a few different phases. So daily, since the first day that we've been out, we've been sending an email to our students every single work day with a positive message from an adult or a group of adults in the building. Just kind of a good way to get their work day started, receiving an email from somebody in the building with a positive message. From there, weekly, we've been meeting with, number one, we've been meeting as a PPS staff. So the main office staff, psychologist, guidance counselor, secretary, myself, talking about, mental health, social and emotional awareness for our students. We put together a Google Classroom for our students, available to them if they want to seek out help through the psychologist or the guidance counselor. We've also used that time to meet to discuss things like end of the year planning, transition plan for 5th to 6th grade, CSE meeting dates, all the day-to-day operations that are still going on, and believe it or not, have actually become more intensified, being that we've been home. The reason being, I know Caroline was talking about the CSE meetings and how they've begun to crank up a little bit. But one opportunity that we sought out with this was the ability for us as a staff at Millbrook Middle School to attend the 5th grade CSE meetings, being that those students were going to be coming up to the middle school. So we've been extending, and Tom was gracious enough, obviously, to invite us into those meetings. So we worked collaboratively on that. So myself, Jen Oberzak, our psychologist at the middle school, who's been chairing those meetings, the 5th grade transition meetings, Kelly Mahoney, my school psychologist or guidance counselor, I apologize. And then we've had either special education teachers, people like Dana Bowe, Devin Agnew, teachers have been there to assist in that transition and to assist with those CSE meetings. So that was actually a really great opportunity that was brought about by this situation, because typically we'd be dealing with day-to-day disciplinary issues or day-to-day operations. That being the fact that we're home, we were able to attend those meetings. That's a real big positive. On a weekly basis, I've had team meetings with, we have 4 separate teams, or actually 5 separate teams other than the PPS meetings. We have our 6th grade team, our 7th grade team, our 8th grade team, and then what we call our encore team. So that's all of the classes that don't fall under a traditional team. We've been meeting either weekly or bi-weekly to just talk about instruction, student issues, troubleshooting, long-term planning, just all of the things that have come day by day. I can't speak highly enough of the middle school staff. This is something I've been saying to central office, and I want you guys to know as well. When it comes to shouting out individuals, I have felt very apprehensive to do so, just because I feel like every single person in my building, from the minute this has started, has had the attitude of, don't ask questions, put your head down, get to work. What do we do to provide the best education for our kids? We've created this culture either within our team meetings, but also on a building-wide level, where if a staff member has an issue, they say, hey, I've been working with Google Meets to set up meetings with students, but I also want to be able to do this from a technology standpoint. Anybody got an answer? And literally, we've had teachers who said, I had a problem with that, and then I did a deep dive. So you know what? Here's a whole Google Doc I created on what you can do to solve that problem. That has happened multiple times in my building. So I've just been so impressed with the way, the teachers have come together. They've done tons of things to reach students in that fashion. So from an educational standpoint, that's what it's been looking like weekly. At the end of every week, and I think, Perry, this speaks to what you were asking, I've been sending out a Google form to students, and that form has questions and they change every week, but they go anywhere from, how are you feeling on an emotional level, to how do you feel the instruction is going? Are you getting feedback? How are the assessments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it always ends with kind of a fun question to engage students. And then what I've been doing is I've been trying to utilize those forms and the feedback I've been getting from kids to then open up lines of communication on my end. So, if we see that a kid in the social emotional question says that, they're freaking out, is the way we word it, trying to kind of speak their language, then we set up avenues for the psychologist and the guidance counselor to reach out to them. If students are constantly giving feedback in the extra sections, I've been just shooting emails, almost like a digital pen pal, to just say, hey, saw your feedback, really cool to hear about the things you and your brother and sister are doing. So I've been trying to touch base with students in that fashion. We are approaching now end of the year stuff. So, from a secondary level, I know Rick, myself, and Caroline met today. We're starting to look at a lot of the CSE information we've gotten and the projections to start to build the master schedule at the secondary level. We've obviously had a ton of meetings from an administrative point of view with everybody involved, but the scheduling is starting to get on its way too, for what we anticipate to be a regular school year, and then, we'll adapt from there. But to finalize, we're now on the point two of finalizing all our end of the year planning for the year. So at the beginning of this week, we reached out to students to start to kind of leak some of the information little by little on where we're going with some of the end of the year planning. And then today, this afternoon, Laura got out the district-wide email, and then today I followed up with the building-wide one. So we gave the parents the majority of the information that we have now for things like our end of the year ceremony, National Junior Honor Society induction, things like transition plans we're starting to think about and plan, as well as our end of the year award ceremony. So actually, to everybody on the board, I have a small favor to ask, if you don't mind. For our moving up ceremony for our 8th graders, one thing that we are going to try to do is create a small little video montage for the students, where all the teachers are going to send a 5 to 10 second video clip just saying congratulations, graduates, and any wise words you may have. So we're sending them all. We're using my secretary, Joanne Winters, as the hub for that. So if you don't mind just taking a quick little 5 to 10 or 15 second video, if you so choose, and you can send that to Joanne. And then we're going to be putting that together as kind of like the last little, we got a lot of stuff and a lot of plans that are pretty well ironed out for the moving up ceremony. But that's what just one last little extra thing that we'd certainly love for you to be a part of.
Hey, Cheryl, just while I'm thinking about it, if you can put together sort of a little more than a schedule, but Junior Honor or National Honor Society is Thursday the whatever from 7 to 8. You'll be joining. You need to be here by then, or you need to be online, just so that we can sort of arrange
Absolutely.
our schedules. Okay. And this goes for the high school graduation, the moving up for Tom, any of those things, the award ceremonies, if we can get them into one place so that, or get them out as meeting notices would even be cooler.
Okay, so I sent out an email, and maybe, you know what, I'll work with Laura on this. Maybe she has an easier way to forward you the information. So, well, it's actually listed right on the webpage today too. I listed everything with save the dates and everything. So maybe I can have Laura, or I'll work with her on how to forward you that information. We're really trying to be super mindful of a lot of things. We don't want to overwhelm our students. One thing that we are seeing is obviously they have a lot of work to do and they're busy. And while we want to honor all of these different things, to be throwing a bunch of things on the calendar, number one, from a safety standpoint, even things like item pickup for our students, we're trying to limit the amount of times families are leaving their houses. So we can certainly set that up, but we're trying to be very mindful of the safety precautions of how many times we're asking families to leave the home, while also still trying to find a way to honor all the different levels of these achievements and acknowledgments that we want to make for students here at the end of the year. So as of right now, the one date, at least at the middle school, that you can put in your calendar would be June 22nd. So we are going to be doing like a drive-by where the parents are going to drive up in their cars and we'll social distance ourselves to do that.
Would it be helpful if we put all of them like in a shared, like if we put all of the school's dates in a shared document so that we could share that with the board? So middle school, Alden, Elm, and high school could just put it in one place for all of us actually, and then share it with the board. So you know how to calendar out the rest of the year, school year.
Okay. And I'll have to check on the video. I've had my video privileges taken away temporarily.
Why, Perry?
Something about unprofessional. I don't know what she was talking about.
They have to be approved before you send them out.
Yeah. Give her a call, Jen. Anyway, sorry about that, Steve. Go ahead.
You're
You all
good,
done?
Steve?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm
Thank
all
you.
good,
Yeah,
unless you have any questions.
I did hear the place is looking pretty spiffy. There's a lot of comments about the colors. So
Yes, we are beyond excited. That was a little brainchild we had last summer, and it's turning out even better than expected. So we're very excited to see, hopefully, the whole thing come together, and as students come back, they'll see a nice, bright, beautiful middle school.
yeah, excellent, excellent. Okay, any other questions? All right, let's go back to the agenda. Approve Proposition 1. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? This is really not working very well tonight.
Freezing up.
Yeah, I can't tell. Well, any discussion at all?
Nope.
All right. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Approve the tax report card. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against?
Aye.
Any against? Okay. All right. Seeker determination. I think this is, the first one is for, which one? Which, the first one that we have, is that Alden or Elm?
First one is Alden.
Okay. So we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? All right. The second one for Elm. Do we have a motion?
I'll make.
Moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion on this one? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay. All right. The board acknowledgement of BOCES candidates. Do we have a motion as stated?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? You guys all. Did we ever get any feedback on why it said 2 and then said 3 later in the file?
No, I didn't hear anything, but there's literally been thousands of emails going back and forth between district clerks, so it could have been easily lost at this point, so.
Okay. All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to go to executive council to executive session to seek advice from legal counsel and to discuss collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of Civil Service Law?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. You're gonna throw us over there, Cheryl?
Yeah, and Beth needs to come in, but I'll get her in there when she joins.
Leave the meeting, Cheryl?
No, don't leave the meeting. No, I'm gonna put you in a breakout room.
Okay.
Bear with me. Sorry.
Seems like we just lost somebody.
Yep. Do you see that you have a breakout room? Do you see that?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Hmm. All right.
Take care, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye, Steve.
Bye,
See you,
Steve.
Hey,
Steve.
Steve. Sorry, guys. I'm not sure what's happening here.
Is it because we're still live?
No.
Hmm.
All right. Is everybody coming into this meeting?
I don't know.
Caroline, Brian,
I can't tell
Laura.
who's still here.
We don't know if Steve is still here.
Steve left, I think.
Yeah,
Now, it looks
Steve
like you
Cabela
might have just
left.
shut
Oh,
off
no.
his video.
I see his
Yeah,
horse.
Steve is still there.
Yeah, but he's not going in, right? I'm not inviting him.
Right,
No.
right.
Okay. So,
And don't we have to wait for the law?
when she comes in, I'll move her into the meeting.
Okay.
So, and I'm
Did
giving
someone
you
else-
60 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheryl, this still says live on YouTube and recording, by the way.
There we go. We're
Yeah,
in
but
here.
when you go into the breakout room, you won't be recorded.
Okay.
Got it, Cheryl.
You see it now? All right. Whew. It's a rough night. Did you have an invite? All right, hold on.
Please wait to be assigned.
You're assigned.
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
All right. Hi, Beth. I'm going to put you into a breakout room. Can you hear me? Hold on. Hi, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. All right. I'm going to add you into the breakout room
Okay.
for the executive session, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. You should see the invite to it. Just telling you to, yeah.